As a coach, when somebody sits down in front of me, the first part of it is they become honest. They acknowledge where they are. Whatever is not working for you, whatever are the areas that you're struggling in a bit, don't be carrying that struggle any longer. Reach out to someone, a professional person. Get someone on your side to help you. Hello there. My name is Máirtín Óg Mc Donagh, and I set up a business called Mind Over Mountains, where I do life coaching and business mentoring and business advice. I come from the west coast of Ireland, a place called Carrow, a Gaeltacht village, where our first language would be Gaelic or Irish. My father died at 37, a tumour on the brain. I was 8 years of age, and there was 4 of us, and my youngest brother, Kieran, wasn't even born. My father was buried in June, and my youngest brother was born in August. From there into my 20s, I had a lot of success as a businessman. I became a millionaire. I was heavily involved in trucks and machinery, excavation. I was a very good footballer. The GA is a big part of the Irish culture, and Gaelic football was my choice of sport, and I excelled at it. I was really good at it. I played all through the ranks until I got to the top level in Galway, where I played at underage level all the way through. And unfortunately, I had a career-ending injury at a very young age of 23, and that sidelined me from the very high levels of playing that sport. But it brought me into management and at club level, and I was very successful with that. And I found actually that I had a bit of a gift for managing people and managing personalities and helping them get the best out of themselves. And I quite enjoyed that for a long time. I built a second business then for a couple of years, and I went into development, which was kind of a natural progression from the excavation side of stuff, where I went into the building side of stuff. But unfortunately, the global financial crisis hit us in 2008, 2009. And long story short, I lost both my businesses. My marriage of 26 years broke up as well. The pressure was colossal. I considered committing suicide on 3 different occasions. I didn't do so. There was some sort of a candle which was flickering within me, which thankfully kept me going and brought me back from the edge. I've written a book about my story, which is called Mind Over Mountains as well. And in there, it chronicles the ups and the downs and the adversity, the highs and the lows, and the resilience. I did get myself back from where I was in a bad place, where I totally blamed myself. I hated myself. I couldn't even look in the mirror at myself. It got me back to going and reaching out for help and reinventing myself basically from where I was to what I do now. Working as a coach and a business advisor, I love helping people. As you'll gather, I have a huge amount of experience coming from where I've come from and dealing with some of the harsh realities of life that I've had to deal with. I've always been interested in sport, and even though I still have that knee that I wrecked in the early 80s, I've managed to cycle my bike across America for charity, for the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. I did a lot of long distance and endurance cycling over the years and raised a lot of funds for different charities. In the last 8 or 9 years, I've gone into mountain climbing and hiking. I've been to Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro, and quite recently I'm just back from Aconcagua in Argentina, which is the highest mountain outside of the Himalayas, highest in the world. And it's number 2 in the list, or on the list of the 7 summits. So I'm quite active, and I encourage my clients that not alone do I want to help them with their professional, business or career issues and challenges, that I encourage them to look at their personal lives as well. I did the same myself, and I really value being outdoors. I love the peace and harmony, and I just love being at one with nature. What I do now, it is hugely rewarding to see clients and work with clients and see the light bulbs coming on from them and having moments of understanding of where they really want to go, where their passions are, what doesn't serve them well anymore, and what excites them. It's my way of giving back, having learned from some bad decisions I made, some choices I made, but also from the success I've had, the challenges I've faced, the resilience I've built, and the benefits of having a growth mindset. I will talk in the forthcoming episodes or in the podcast quite a lot about mindset. I do believe that a growth, positive mindset is a cornerstone of huge importance for everybody. I do believe that whatever challenges we're facing, that there's always an ingredient, a little nugget of learning to be got, uh, even when things go wrong, that you learn and you go again. It's part of life, and I suppose I'm an open canvas that you can see. I've had a lot of challenges. I've had to face a lot of demons and a lot of decisions that went wrong. But I stand here and sit here and as somebody who has managed to overcome all them and rebuild my life. And that, for anyone who might like to learn more from what I've learned and what I'm learning every day in dealing with clients and business owners and giving talks in corporate situations, I'm consistently and constantly learning from clients and from people. So I invite you to come along on this journey of episodes with me, where I have no doubt that you'll go away with some nuggets from every single one of them, from learning and from experiences that I've had and having every single day. If you're facing similar circumstances in your life, and it's all relevant, to me it was businesses at the time, it was family, it was huge, it was colossal what I was facing. I found it really difficult, but I knew where I was, that the only way and the only person who could get me out of it was myself. Acknowledging first and foremost, and that's something I focus a lot on with clients, especially during the initial sessions, where they try to go to the acceptance part. But way before you get to that, you have to pare it back to acknowledging where you are, whether it's a career change you want to make, you're reluctant, you're not sure, whether it's in a relationship that's coming to an end, whether it's a business decision that you have to make. It doesn't matter. First and foremost, you need to acknowledge where you are at this point in time. The next part of that, after acknowledgement, and it can be really difficult. In my case, it was very difficult because I'd lost everything. I was on the floor. I hated myself. I couldn't even look in the mirror at myself. I blamed myself totally. I didn't blame a global financial crisis. I didn't blame bankers that made decisions that didn't make sense to me. I blamed myself. So that acknowledgement and carrying that weight around was huge for a long time. But I had to acknowledge where I was. Some of those circumstances were outside of my control. And in many cases, for many people, it's the same. The only thing we can really control is our attitude to a situation, and then what are we going to do next? What is within our control? Whatever you're faced with, you look and you kind of say to yourself, right, okay, what can I control here? And what's outside of my control? What do I need to do to change my circumstances? Do I need to reach out for help? Do I need to get a coach on board? One of the things I did eventually, and I found it made a huge difference to me, that I was sharing some of that load with somebody, a professional person, who would support me first and foremost, but challenge me at times about my thinking, how I was assessing things, the blame, lifting that. But first and foremost, I go back to it again, acknowledgement of where I found myself, and then through acknowledgement, acceptance. Not blaming everybody else, not staying stuck in that place. And I see a lot of clients now that I'm dealing with. When you get into this hole, call it whatever you like, it's where we get comfortable. It's a really strange thing to say when you find yourself in a hole that you get comfortable in it. But you do, because it's self-protect mode. I know, because I was in it myself. I used to hide away in that space. I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want to be seen. I just wanted to wallow in that place of self-pity, of poor me. Look what's happened to me. But there's no future in that. And there's no way you're going to improve, move forward, learn from what happened if you stay there. It's a very selfish place to be. I said that to a client recently, and he took offence to it when I said it to him first. But I explained to him that I was there myself. I told him, I said, you're being very selfish. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean? I said, you've put yourself into this cocoon, I said. And I said, everything that's happened, I said, is everybody's fault except yours. And you're in that space and you're angry, but you're not making any progressive moves to get out of it. The first thing is the acknowledgement I mentioned earlier. Then later comes the acceptance. Then you look at, okay, my jigsaw puzzle is all around me on the floor here. That's my life. What are the good pieces I need to take out of this? The building blocks to start moving forward. What have I learned from what has happened? That's where we all need to start. I need some support here. I don't feel I'm able to make the right decisions. The next thing that comes is self-limiting beliefs, self-doubt. I'll be dealing with that in more depth in another podcast. But that's the next thing that happens. When you get hit by a few decisions that didn't go your way, relationships that breaks down, a business decision that went against you, a career move you wanted to make and you didn't get it, all of a sudden you feel a bit undermined. Your self-confidence begins to go and you start to self-doubt yourself. And as a coach, when somebody sits down in front of me, the first part of it is they become honest. They acknowledge where they are. And the same applies to you listening to this, whatever you're doing at this moment in time. Whatever is not working for you, whatever are the areas that you're struggling in a bit, don't be carrying that struggle any longer. Reach out to someone, a professional person. Get someone on your side to help you with that situation. I found all those years ago it was the best thing I ever did. I worked with a professional and slowly I began to make moves out of that comfortable zone that I was in. That was an awful place to be, but it was comfortable for me. I was bathing myself in this poor me, and the world has turned against me, and my father died, and I got injured, and I lost my businesses, and I lost my marriage, and I could go on for another half an hour. So you have to ground yourself and say, right, circumstances didn't work out. Certain things changed, went against me. But I'm still the same person. I have talents. I was very successful for a long time. I made a lot of money. I've made a lot of good decisions. And that's where it starts, that you begin to look at the positivity, the positive stuff, and you push to one side the negative stuff, specifically the stuff that you cannot do anything about, that's outside of your control. The other part of admitting and acknowledging where you are, that's one of the greatest moves I feel anybody can make. I did it myself, is to reach out to somebody. And whether you start with a friend who you feel really comfortable with and you like the energy you get from them and they're always willing to listen to you, that's a great start. If you want to bring that up another level, you reach out to a professional. And the support you get from that, it makes a huge difference. But I place huge importance on any client who makes that phone call. and has a discussion with me about where they find themselves and the challenges they're facing. That's colossal for anybody to do that. And that's where people find the most difficulty, is actually reaching out in the beginning. But if you do that, first major step, it's like you release that tension and you release that weight that you've been carrying around with you for a long, long time. I explained to my sister's son about 3 years ago, he wanted to know what coaching was all about. And he was 12 years of age at the time. And I said to him, Owen, I said, if you go to a life coach, I said, first of all, I said, I'm not a counsellor and I'm not a therapist. So there's no trauma. So he was looking at me as a 12-year-old would. That still didn't make a lot of sense to him. But I said, if you were going to go to a coach, you come in with a rucksack on your back. And he said to me, well, what's in the rucksack? And I said, your life up till now. So as a coach, I help you reach into it, to take out the stuff that's not relevant anymore. And that's important for every one of us. As you're progressing through life, your values change, and with experience, you're carrying stuff with you that you don't need anymore. Some of it can be very negative stuff, negative thoughts, self-limiting beliefs, paradigms, as the Americans call them. All beliefs are habits of doing things, of assessing things. So we work together and we take some of that stuff out. It makes that rucksack a little bit lighter, and it gives you room to put in new stuff in it. That's basically where it starts. And from there, you go into your new journey. What challenges you'd like to take on, what goals you'd like to set going forward. So that's it for today. The end of the first episode, Mind Over Mountains podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. There's plenty more to come, where I'll deal with a lot of similar topics that keep coming up for clients. I'll talk a little bit about what I did myself. I'll talk a bit about what I do with business owners and how I help them and the problems that are coming up from them or for them in this day and age. So if you like what this podcast is about, please spread the word and make sure to listen. You'll find me on LinkedIn as Máirtín Óg Mc Donagh. My website is mindovermountains.ie. I do a weekly newsletter called Mindset Matters. And my book, of course, is available from my website, Mind Over Mountains. So Sinead, for now, the first episode done and dusted, and thanks for listening.